Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of First and Last. My name is Josh, and with me this week we've got Joe.
Hi, man.
And Jimmy.
What was that? Did
Trying
you
to do it
meow?
out of the side of my mouth.
It just sounded like a really weird mumble.
Hi, man.
Her. I thought you were doing the like meow thing from Super Troopers.
Like, how many times can we meow in
Yeah.
this episode?
Yeah.
Actually, about you talking out of the side of your mouth, randomly, I had a thought today, and I was going to ask, do you guys chew on a certain side of your mouth predominantly? I feel like when I put food in my mouth, I chew on the right side, like I do that, and then I kind of like switch it eventually or something.
I don't think so, but now I'll try to think about it.
Yeah.
Is it because you have like wooden teeth on the other side?
Well, it's because I have metal teeth on the right side.
Ah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Just grind it up.
Yeah.
And no teeth on the left. Just,
Huh. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I was like, I ate my, like, I have like chewy vitamins, like gummy vitamins, daily
Sure.
vitamins or whatever.
Like a child.
And I just
sure.
like threw that. Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Adults need vitamins too, and vitamins are way more fun chewy. But I threw them in my mouth, and I was like, they both went to the right side, and I'm chewing it on my right side. I was like, do I always do that?
I think, like, right now when you said a chewy vitamin, I thought about, like, if I were to throw a chewy vitamin in my mouth right now, I think I would put it on the left side.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
maybe I would too.
Yeah, I think
Who's
back
to say?
left.
Let me tell you when I put whiskey in my mouth.
Which side do you chew the whiskey on?
Some whiskeys are a little chewy.
That whiskey looks a little like pale or
Oh
it almost
yeah.
looks pastel. What do you got? You got some mixed in there?
Yeah, I put ginger beer in it because I thought that I didn't really like this whiskey. But then I realized like it's a 10-year. I mean, you know, it's not nothing.
Yeah. It's got some age to it.
It's delicious.
All right. Egan's,
Yeah.
not a sponsor,
But they could
Egan's
be.
is racist.
but you could be Egan's. You could be.
Yeah.
Joe, how does this podcast work for anybody in quarantine, bored, and found a new podcast
And
to
just
listen to?
listening to every podcast down the list.
Yeah.
They got all the way down to F, and they're just like, all right, let's see. We're First and Last. We take a TV show and watch only the first and only the last episode. So it's not quite like your typical like TV review show where we just like talk about the entire series. It's just like we're typically going in blind and just watching the first and last.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's good if you're curious about a show and you've never seen it and you just want to hear about like little tidbits about it. It's also interesting if you like know and love a show to see what three idiots who have never seen it before think of the first and last.
If you want to try to be as bad at predicting the end of shows as we are, join us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Jimmy, I think it was your show pick.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
What-
So speaking of, you know, being too young to know
what horrors are you going to give
what
us
these
today?
shows are about that these kids are watching. Speaking of going in blind and chewing out of the corners of your mouth, we're gonna watch Taxi. You guys know that show?
What does that have to do with kids these days?
That show feels very like Nick at Night core.
Yeah, it for sure.
If
sure
Nick
has
at
been
Night core
featured.
is a genre.
Yeah, it's like grindcore and then Nick at Night core.
Yeah.
Well, what did they used to call? What was that called? Like it was Nick at Night, but I thought it
TV
had
Land?
a different name. Was it TV Land?
That was a
Is that what it
thing.
was called?
That's
Okay.
the thing that old shows were on.
It might be that because for some reason in my head I was trying to say TV Town, and that's not a thing.
Toontown.
TV Town. Toontown just makes me want to watch the Animaniacs.
Yeah, we could do that show instead. Should we pivot?
Yeah, let's just. You know what? No.
right.
Taxi. Danny DeVito's in that, right?
Heck yeah, he is.
Wait, really? I thought you were joking.
No.
The only things I know about Taxi is that it's a Nick at Night show, and I think it was just like, it was like a really big deal. I feel like I have like vague memories of my dad trying to explain to me that like this is a hit show, and I'm just like, this?
I mean, you already go. It was a Nick at Night show, as if it was like a Nick original kind of thing.
Yeah. I think is that guy that's in like Man on the Moon? Like he was in
Jim
it?
Carrey. Jim
Jim
Carrey.
Carrey.
Yep, he's in
Oh,
this.
God. Yes.
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
like
think he
knew
was
that
in
joke.
this at the beginning.
But he's
maybe.
definitely in the show.
I think he comes in later. That's my first bold prediction.
Okay.
All right. It looks like, according to Wikipedia, the most trustworthy news site on the internet, that it went for 5 seasons, 114 episodes, and it looked like it went from 1978 to 1983.
Back
It
in
went
time.
backwards in time, hundreds of years. But it did switch networks.
Yep.
Oh,
So that's not
ABC.
That's not a good thing.
So maybe that's when Andy Kaufman comes. Maybe some stuff switches up. Maybe they had to replace Tony Danza.
Tony Danza's in this.
A very young Tony Danza and a very young Christopher Lloyd.
Huh.
Oh man, who's the boss is in this?
But
I mean, Tony wasn't the boss, but
I think
you know.
I think the show more or less circles around, centers around. Have you guys seen Independence Day? You ever heard of that?
The
low
movie?
budget indie film, Independence Day, starring Will
Welcome
Smith.
to Earth.
You mean ID4?
I do. Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum's dad is Judd Hirsch in that film, and he's who I think is the main character of this show.
He plays the taxi.
Yeah. He's the
Wait, so is it like a?
He's just
it's like
the
a
voice of-
It's a talking taxi.
Oh god, that would be great.
What's that
No
David
wonder it was a hit.
Hasselhoff show where he like talks to his car?
Knight Rider. That
Yeah.
was Knight Rider.
It's basically Knight Rider but for taxis.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This is going very well.
Also, not probably what this show is about. I've seen like clips of this show, like, you know, it's been on TV, seen it on Nick at Night kind of thing. But whenever I think about the one time when I think about this show is I think it's probably like Grand Theft Auto Vice City, when you buy the taxi cab place and then you like the checkered cab place that you can do taxi cab missions and own that company. For some reason, I'm like, this is pretty much probably what Taxi's about, right? Like that's what the TV show Taxi's about.
Yeah, that's kind of what I assume too. It's like it's a workplace comedy about a taxi company, kind of like Wings or something.
Yeah,
Like a grittier
but with
Wings.
taxis.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably dingier. Not as nice.
Yeah, I assume this whole show's like kind of dingy, but not because like it's old 1970s like film and stuff. It's just like that's just dingy. Like that's kind of just like the sets. Is it in New York? I feel like this is New
Oh,
York.
it's gotta be.
Gotta be.
Danny DeVito alone. It's gotta be New York. I have this feeling that maybe it was on Nick at Night, but I feel like this show takes place at night.
It's probably when you get more taxi action.
Yeah.
Taction.
No taction without representation, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're right. That's what they say.
Edit that out.
I think they pick up a drunk person
Okay.
in their taxi cab in this episode.
Oh. I think there's someone making whoopee in the back of their taxi.
Oh.
And that's the way they describe it.
He was making whoopee in my taxi.
Is that Tony Danza?
And I had to tell him to get out of there.
Get out of here.
I bet we get a get out of here in this episode.
I'm
too,
walking
if I
here.
can be so bold as to predict that.
I hope so.
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I kind of feel like dingy taxi place. I think it starts during the day. Joe or Jimmy, I don't remember who said that. Whatever.
Wow.
I think it starts during the day. I think near the end or whenever they like pick up a drunk person. But I kind of think that it is like there's a new guy starting. Tony Danza. Sure. I don't know. Let's just say the new guy is Tony Danza because I don't know who he is in the show. He's a new guy and he wants to like do a different job. It's like, you know how like in LA, people that come to act become like waiters and like servers and stuff. He
Sure.
wants to do, he wants to play football. But until like
New
he
York.
can try out for the Jets next year or something like that,
Oof.
he's working as a taxi cab driver to make ends meet until he can actually go after his dream. So that's the premise of this show. That's what I think.
I like it. No one is willing to tell him that his dreams are the ships are sailed.
Oh, I'm sure they constantly are going to do that. Look
okay.
at you. You can't play in the NFL. Come on. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
We picked you up drunk one day in a taxi cab and you never left. Maybe Tony Danza's the drunk guy they pick up. Man, this show writes itself.
So many opportunities.
Anybody else noteworthy in this? I mean, we said some pretty big old people. Judd
The
Hirsch,
gal
Andy
is
Kaufman.
pretty big deal.
Who is that?
Who now? Carol Kane. No, well, also Carol Kane. Who am I thinking of?
Is it Mary Lou Henner?
Mary Lou Henner, yeah.
Or Mary Lucy Denise Henner, as she was born?
Mary Lou Henner was in a lot of stuff.
I'm trying to like see her. I feel like she doesn't really look that familiar to me.
Yeah, and none of the movies that she was in sound familiar to me either.
Yeah, I just like went through that little first paragraph on Wikipedia too, and I was like, I don't think I've seen any of those things. Carol Kane is I know Carol Kane.
Yeah, she was in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
That's not why I would know her. I mean,
But that was a episode of this podcast that we did.
yeah, I recognize her from this podcast because she was in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, but she was also like in The Princess Bride
Also that.
and like a bunch of other things. I think pretty sure.
Nope, that was it.
Jimmy, I don't know
these
how you
three
didn't say
things.
this. How did you not say this, Jimmy? She was in Gotham.
Oh yeah, she's Penguin's mom. I
It's
forgot
like your
that.
thing, and I took it from you.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it while it was on.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's been over for a while. We haven't done that one.
Ooh, there you go.
No, we haven't. Wasting your
Let's start
picks,
this
Jimmy.
podcast over.
Well, wait. So now we're not going to stop doing Taxi and do Animaniacs. We're going to stop doing Animaniacs and do Gotham.
What are you guys doing tonight? Can we get in all this TV?
It's not like I got anywhere to go. So,
Yeah.
well, does anybody else think anything else is going to happen in this episode, or you guys just agree that I'm 100% spot on?
Do you
Tony
think
Danza.
that, like, other than like the post or even the beginning credits scene, do you think we actually see a taxi?
Like, I mean, I feel like they like stand in a
Yes.
garage, standing around taxis like all show.
I think that's the opening shot.
I would almost be surprised if like I'd be more surprised if they like were driving in a taxi. I think it's mostly
Yeah.
like in the taxi garage, and taxis like maybe pull in and out kind of thing. But I bet there's probably not a scene. Well, besides when they pick up drunk Tony Danza to bring him to his new career, I don't think there's any taxi driving scenes really.
I would place a bet that we don't see a moving taxi in this show,
Okay.
Okay.
at least in the pilot.
I'd take that. I think we see moving taxis before the opening credits stop rolling. I think that's going to be the entire opening credits.
Yeah, I think the
moving
opening
taxis.
credits, yeah. Outside of the credits, though, I don't think.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Well,
It's gonna
okay,
be
we got to clarify. Okay.
no moving taxis.
Interesting. Yeah, I could get behind that. There's probably one parked in the garage.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think my one thing, besides the other things that I said, are that I think Danny DeVito's character's name is going to be Frank, and he's going to be eating sausages in this first episode.
Frank's eating Franks?
Yeah, basically just like and that they stole all that in It's Always Sunny,
Okay.
which is another excellent show, but it's still going, so we can't refuse to watch it.
Okay. So we got a point bet going on. Everyone's up for 1 point in this first episode. Before we get in, let me recap really quick. Joe, no moving taxis. Omit obviously the intro, the start. Jimmy, you think Frank is eating Franks?
Yeah.
And I think there's a drunk guy.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So stay tuned, listeners, or watch it with us. And we'll see you in 23 minutes or however long this thing lasts.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. Well, let's get into this. Should we get into this pilot episode?
Yeah.
Is it called anything? Oh, look at that. It's called, well, so it's called Like Father, Like Daughter.
Oh.
So, with that
Twist.
being said, we will see you after the first episode of Taxi. And we're back. We're done with the first episode of Taxi called Like Father, Like Daughter. Jimmy got a write-up.
I do. Alex and the guys drive a taxi from New York City to Miami so that Alex can see his daughter, whom he hasn't seen in 15 years, before she leaves for school in Portugal. The end.
Oh, I was like, okay.
And that's all that
right.
happened.
Yep, that's it. That's everything that happened. I feel like there was a lot more that happened in this episode.
Yeah, it's a synopsis.
So first off, Alex is Judd Hirsch, and he walks in with like a dude that just moved to New York City. Is that what the premise was there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, like we were right about this being a taxi depot, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
And so Alex is he's a driver?
yeah, he's a cabbie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And all his
so he
friends are cabbies.
Yeah, and everybody else is cabbies too. Besides, and then so he walks in with some dude because they need a change for a $50 bill because this guy like is just moving to New York or something, and all he had was $150 in his bank account, and they gave him $350s. So he comes into there. He also, what was that guy's name? I never figured out what that guy's name
Like
was.
Nick or something? I'll look it up.
Okay. I got like everybody else's name, but his. But they give him change or whatever. He walks over to the phone and is like, "This phone's great. You can just put in money and it's free to use," because he like took out the coin thing, and then all of the cabbies run over to like use the phone for free as if like that's the craziest commodity in the entire world.
Yeah,
Which-
that was a delightful thing to see. Or like a lot of times when you watch old shows like this, like it's pretty much the same. Or there might be a few things that seem outdated, but this and like one of the major plot points was that a payphone was free, and just the thought of that now, like, hey, what the fuck is a payphone?
Right. I don't know. I'd have a hard time like finding a payphone.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they're all super excited that they can make phone calls to anywhere for free. And it's just
Yeah.
like the thought of that now, it's like, A, like, I don't want to make a phone call.
Right. I don't even want to call anybody.
Yeah. And B, like, I can already call whoever, whenever. Like, what?
It's fun. Yeah, because first of all, I was like, why is it such a big deal? It was hard for me to even wrap my head around it.
Yeah. It was the type of thing where people were crowding around it and then trying to think of who to call because they could call anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, they all have phones at home. So it's not like making a phone call is like a unique thing.
Uh-huh.
It's that they were all calling like other countries essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
'cause
then it
otherwise-
was free.
Yeah, yeah. Because you'd have to pay long distance if you tried to call
Scam the
to like.
system.
Yeah.
Right. So one guy, Bobby Wheeler, who is a actor and a cabbie on the side, called like the London Theatre of Arts to try to get a hold of like one of their actors. Who was he calling again? Do you remember?
Laurence Olivier.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he tried to get in contact with him, and then
Got pretty
Tony,
close.
and then Tony Danza called like like a Vietnam like happy endings massage parlor. Is that what he?
Yeah, because he's trying to get in touch with girl number 12.
Yeah,
Oof.
and he said they only go up to 9 now. What was Tony Danza's
Now that
character's
the war
name?
is over. Tony.
It was Tony. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was Tony Banta.
Oh man.
So good.
And he was a boxer and like a part-time cabbie. They like kind of made a thing. So then while they were doing that, a lady walked in and she was like going to be a part-time she was the new quote unquote part-time taxi driver cuz she had a different she said she had a different job as
Yep.
a receptionist somewhere.
At an art
And her name
gallery.
was Elaine. And it was funny because Danny DeVito's character, who was like, he was just like the man in a cage hovering above everybody.
Yeah.
Like he's like the owner giving out like orders and stuff, like giving out all the where the cabbies go. And he was like super nice to her right away. And then he was like, "Oh, you're a cab driver," and he immediately just became like an asshole to her.
Yeah. I thought you were a person.
Yeah. So she's new. She didn't do too much besides just be the new person.
Yeah. She like kind of led Alex to the phone though to make the call to his daughter.
Yeah. And so then they kind of like everyone was like Alex, you should call somebody. Don't you have somebody to call? And apparently he's got like a kid who like grew up in Rio because his like baby mama went down there to like live with some other dude to raise the kid. And
Like you
so so he called that lady, ex-wife maybe, I don't know what their relationship was when they gave birth. But she was like, "Oh yeah, your kid Kathy is going to Portugal." She was going to Portugal? Yeah, she's going to Portugal, but she's going to be in Spain tomorrow like morning. And he's like, "I can go down there and meet her." I was like, "What?" Miami. Maine. Did I say Maine?
You said
Maine would have been a lot. Whatever.
So the country
She-
of Spain,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the
that's...
nation next to Portugal.
Yeah, I was like, that's close to Portugal. So maybe that's my problem. But so yeah, he was gonna go down to Miami because that's where her layover was on the way to Portugal.
Yep. Borrowed a cab, which Louis was pretty upset at. And took half of the cabbies also, so just packed the thing. Oh, also the customer's name riding with him at the beginning, his name is John. And by the end of this, he himself was a hack. I think he called himself. That's what they call cabbies. They're hacks.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just so they were gonna drive down all the way to Miami to meet his daughter for like her layover, which number one, we got to get into like how that's not how airports work anymore.
Yeah.
But also, I just looked it up. The fastest route, just a generic route from New York to Miami, Florida, is around 1,300 miles and takes just under 20 hours to drive there,
Huh.
according to Google Maps right now.
That's less than I thought.
I mean, that's coronavirus traffic, though, I think. So,
Yeah, open roads.
but before that, when he was like asking Danny DeVito, he's like, I need to borrow a cab for the weekend. And Danny DeVito was like yelling at him. And then his reveal of him like walking down out of the thing. And like, do people know who Danny DeVito is like really a lot in 1978?
Probably not.
And he has like reveal of like, oh, he's tiny, you know?
Yeah.
was really funny to me. I thought that was really funny. They did that really well.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest laugh from like the studio audience in the entire episode was Danny DeVito coming out and realizing how tiny he is.
Yeah.
It's a good bit. It's better than him yelling at ladies and Latka's. We didn't talk about Latka at all, which is Andy Kaufman. He walks over, sits next to Elaine, puts his head on her shoulder. They've never met. He's a strange man in a new place. He just says, bed? Like, are we going to have sex? This is the one word that he says. And she says, no. Or whatever.
She says, no bed.
No bed.
Well,
and he says,
to be
thank
fair,
you very much.
To be fair, Latka is a delightful foreign character, so that's
he gets
he's
a
the
pass.
Fez of Taxi.
it's a little lost in translation.
Nice.
Yeah, all we were doing was assuming what we thought he meant, and that's what she was doing. But who knows? Maybe he was trying to sell her a bed, you know?
But yeah, Andy Kaufman plays this like delightful foreign character who's like somewhat innocent and like is trying to learn the language, but doesn't really get like social norms. Like it's a pretty standard character these days as far as like a foreign character goes. I wonder if this was kind of like setting the template for that.
For all foreign characters to come?
Yeah, because I feel like I've seen this type of foreign character a lot, especially a lot with like Asian characters, where like they don't really understand what's going on, and like they're kind of, but like they're innocent in the things that they get wrong, and they're also sexless.
Yeah,
and it hit all of those points within just the first episode of this Latka character.
Classic.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like he was already a big deal from Saturday Night Live, right?
I don't know. I think so. I think he has a history as like being a comedian before Taxi.
Yeah. Like he probably was a recognizable face.
Just based on what I remember from that Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah, that's solely what I know about Andy Kaufman.
I was trying to
version of his life.
Yeah.
I was trying to look up to the Perfect Strangers show that we watched with his like foreign cousin, and I was trying to figure out when that was. I mean, that wasn't until like 1986. So I could see them taking like inspiration in a way from Andy Kaufman's character in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Probs.
So then they get to Miami, and he like meets his daughter, and they have a very obvious. I mean, I think they did a pretty solid job of making like a very serious moment in the show, making it feel really awkward, like it definitely would, you know.
Mm-hmm. Pretty weird.
I thought it was pretty good. There was almost Frasier levels of seriousness within a comedy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they did a quick like turn on her part. What's her name? Kathy. That like he says, drops a couple times that he's her father, like just in conversation, and then she starts to get uncomfortable, and then she says, like, you're not my father, like I was raised by this dude my whole life. And then somehow he kind of, from there to her like getting on the plane, kind of talks her into this like relationship to where they kiss on the lips. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah. It was in their like awkward goodbye. Did you guys catch that, or did you miss that?
I think
I was surprised that I was
something.
Yeah, I was surprised that I was the only one to react to that, but it was when they were
Totally
I was on
normal.
my Zoom chat was on mute, but so
yeah, it was when
I thought that was weird.
It was when they were saying goodbye and like they like had an awkward moment and then they hug, which is nice. And then they kind of split apart again, and then they kind of go back in to like, maybe the thought is like one of them should like kiss the other on the cheek, but they both just go in for a kiss and end up kissing on the lips. Maybe that was what it was supposed to be, but it was weird.
Plus the tongue, I thought was just unnecessary.
There was no tongue.
I didn't see any of that part.
I saw it. I also saw
the
that,
hug.
but I thought the hug was endearing, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe, well, because he also gave her his driver's license and be like, that's where I live. Hey, I mean.
Can we talk about that? Because, like, okay, here's something with my address on it. Oh, it's my driver's license. He is a driver. That is what he does. He needs
and
that.
I assume
more than
he
most
drove.
people.
I assume he drove there, so someone else has to drive back.
There's 4 other people in that car. There's 5 people in a taxi cab on the way down.
It's too many. It's too
20 hours with 5 people in a car.
In the 70s, how was the AC in the cars in the 70s? Probably not great.
No, it wasn't good. I mean, definitely wasn't good in the taxi cab like garage, because that Bobby Wheeler guy was wearing like a denim shirt and was like pitting out hard,
Just
like
dripping.
At the beginning of the episode. I was like, man, he's a sweaty boy.
It's a hot studio. Those are hot lights. Not
Right.
LEDs back then.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, I thought this was like a good episode of TV. Like, I enjoyed the episode, but I didn't really think it was like a very good example of a pilot. I don't know what you guys thought.
Like how so?
I mean, like, we realize that there's a bunch of people, like, what I got out of this is that there's a bunch of people that work at a taxi cab company, you know, and they all work as cabbies, that they all technically like have other jobs or aspirations kind of thing, like most of them do. But then the main plot is this other guy, Alex, the main character potentially of the show. Like, he has a daughter, and she, like, they went down to see her and left. I mean, it's like a middle of season 2 kind of episode or something like that. Where like it didn't. All I know is next week on Taxi, they're probably going to be standing in that taxi garage again, hanging out. I mean, you know, so as far as like maybe modern TV or 90s, you know, it was sitcom-y, I guess. I mean, it was fine. It was a fine sitcom kind of thing. I know the show's going to be comedy for the most part inside of this thing, and I'm glad to see that they weren't afraid to get serious in the first episode.
Yeah.
But like, there was no like driving factor towards this. I mean, it's not like we're going to check in on how his daughter's doing in Portugal in episode 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's kind of two schools of thought for comedy sitcom pilots. Now that we've done like 150 of these episodes, I'm an expert on comedy sitcom pilots.
You are.
So yeah, there's one school of thought where you go, here are the characters, here's what's gonna happen, come see us next week. And then there's another school of thought that's just like, here are the characters, here's what typically goes on, and you know, yeah, like it could just be a season 2 plot point, but it's just like, we're just giving you what we're gonna be every week. And that's what I felt like this was. It was just like,
I agree.
maybe different episodes they focus in a little bit more on a different character, but otherwise you're getting just like a little piece of these guys at this workplace. It felt like a little bit like maybe Cheers is more a direct comparison than like Wings.
Yeah. Here we are. This is the space that you're gonna see.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe not. I also just, when you just said Wings and Cheers, I just thought, well, even in those, even if maybe some of that seems like a typical day at the bar or a typical day at the airport, I guess, we at least kind of get the fact that the main characters in those two shows are like the owners of the place, and like their driving factor is like, it's comedy within that area, but they're still like, they're trying to keep their business open, and like you can see it's not like Wings, is it like they're struggling to keep it open. I mean, Cheers isn't like thriving, you know.
Through the first part of the episode I assumed that Alex was the owner of the place, but like he clearly wasn't.
No.
He gave me like dad vibes. He was like the dad of the cab company in a way.
Dad cab.
Yeah,
Dad cab.
something. He did this thing where, so he kind of like kind of looked down on Elaine coming in, like talking about how she, you know, she's not a taxi driver, she's this other thing, and then he points out everyone else in the place, and he's like, I'm the only taxi driver here. So it's like he's doing this, like it's got a little bit like existential, like are we just gonna see all these people kind of trying to make it in New York, and he's just kind of watching it all, or like, you know, how's this gonna unfold for Alex? How's he gonna grow, you know? Let's see it.
Yeah, I mean,
tune in next week
when we finish for the stunning conclusion of Taxi.
I have to tell this Andy Kaufman story that I just read on the Wikipedia. So Andy Kaufman plays Latka, the foreign guy in this show.
Is this gonna ruin one of my predictions
I don't think so.
about Latka? Okay, good.
I think, it has more to do with like the first season. So Andy Kaufman, like the producers of Taxi saw Andy Kaufman do this foreign guy act at one of these comedy shows. And so they based the character around this character that Andy Kaufman had already come up with. And he originally didn't want to do a sitcom, but his agent said, like, you know, this will be good money, you should do it. So he signed a contract on the condition that not only does he play Latka, but his alter ego, Tony Clifton, which, like, if you remember Tony Clifton from the Man in the Moon movie, Tony Clifton is like this character that Andy Kaufman does, but like Andy Kaufman, like, just wholesale, like, acts as if it's a completely different person. Like, he's like living the gimmick that Tony Clifton is a completely separate person, even though it's just him in makeup.
Right.
So one of his conditions was that he's going to sign on to play Latka, but Tony Clifton is going to get a contract to like be a guest star in a few episodes. And so the producers were just like, yeah, sure, whatever. So they wrote an episode for Tony Clifton. It was like episode 10 of the first season, where Tony Clifton would play, I think it was Alex's brother or Louis's brother. Either way, he was just like a guest role on it was Louis's brother in the 10th episode. But then once they came to rehearsal, like it just wasn't really working out, and the producers are like, hey, like we should maybe not do this Tony Clifton thing. And they were telling this to Kaufman, and he said like, well, then you should fire Tony Clifton and like make it public. And they're like, okay, again, this is the same person.
Wow.
So the next day at filming, where they're gonna fire Tony Clifton, Andy Kaufman shows up as Tony Clifton and just starts acting belligerent and obnoxious and just being super annoying to everybody. And so they not only fired him, but had to kick him off the set because like Judd Hirsch was like pissed at him.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Andy Kaufman came back the next day, like for filming, and just like pretended like everything was cool.
Just as Andy Kaufman now.
Yeah. Like as if like he wasn't there that day, and he's like, oh, what happened? Where's that Tony Clifton guy? He was weird.
Yeah, how was filming with Tony yesterday?
Yeah.
Very eccentric dude.
We fired Tony. You did what? He didn't even tell me.
Yeah, that is a wild story.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That leads me to my first prediction. Latka is gone.
Oh, okay.
Based on what I remembering during the pilot of the Man of the Moon movie, that he like was crazy. Just assuming that by the end of 5 years from now, he's totally nuts and they don't want anything to do with him.
Fair.
Okay, so that's my number one. My number two is that Judd marries Elaine. I think maybe they do a will they, won't they?
You mean Alex marries Elaine?
Sorry, Alex marries Elaine.
Okay, I didn't write it down, but I was gonna predict that Tony married Elaine,
Ooh.
but I didn't write it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean Tony marries Elaine?
Yeah.
Tony Banta?
Not to be confused with the character Tony.
Wow. So, gotta end with a wedding or, have some sort of trope. Which leads me to my number three is that Louis dead.
Jesus God. Okay.
So maybe, maybe if the trope's not a wedding, maybe it's a funeral. And then my last one is taxi crash. Maybe that's how Louis dies. Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, also, did we see a moving taxi in the episode 1?
No.
Yeah. We saw them driving to Miami.
I was
we?
wondering.
I thought so.
I must have missed that.
They were like
I was
on
wondering-
a bridge or something.
I was wondering if like the like setting shot kind of thing counted.
Mm-hmm.
I
The setting?
assume.
Oh, well, those weren't moving. They
like-
were parked. Talking about like the actual set.
No, like so they were like they took the cab and they went to Miami, so they showed like a cab driving,
Yeah.
for like half of a second.
Yeah, I
So.
guess that's what I was talking about.
Okay. All right. So no one got a point throughout the whole first episode.
No.
Just to clarify that before we get deeper into predictions.
Yeah.
Mm.
Was
I'm
that-
still talking.
Was
so
that
I'm
the end of
gonna
yours? Okay.
That's the end
Yeah.
of mine, yeah.
So I'm going to do mine now. Slowly roll, Joe.
Oh, okay.
My turn.
Jeez.
I think Bobby Wheeler has opening night in a production in this last episode.
Oh, good for him.
I think one of the I mean
Is it a porn?
A live porn?
yeah. He's in a play. It just happens to be mostly about his dick.
It's a one-man show.
I don't think they're good. Yeah. Oof. I don't think they're going to it or anything. I don't think I don't think the show itself is going to go to the production or anything, but I think in the taxi area, most likely they're like, it's Bobby's opening night tonight, that kind of thing. I think we know that it's opening night.
Cool.
I think Alex's daughter lives in New York City
Okay.
because it's 5 years. She can't be in Portugal forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the cab company is getting sold.
Oh, okay.
I think
So, like,
Danny
Louis
DeVito.
selling?
Yeah, I think Louis is selling it to somebody. I kind of wanted to say, so my thought is that it ends by like Louis selling the cab company to like the cabbies, like maybe Alex buys it or something like
It's
that.
like a co-op cab company now.
I mean, they're already kind of like a big group, like anyway. So, but I think Louis stops being the owner and gets rid of the cab company.
Okay.
And then I think they kind of shoehorn in some sort of a payphone joke. The payphone is back.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, that's the
Like
bookend.
it's broken again or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Some
There's a-
customer comes in and pulls the plate off. It's like, hey guys, this phone is awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely a payphone gag.
I like it. I originally had written down during this episode that they fix the payphone and then at the very end of the pilot, a guy fixes the payphone.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the payphone's still broken, kind of thing. But then I was like, oh God, he's fixing it right now.
Yeah.
Come on, man. So I think the payphone is somehow involved in a joke.
I love a good payphone gag. There's this song by the band Arkells, and the chorus goes, "You called me up from a payphone. I said I could drive you home." But then on the last chorus, he says, "You called me up from a payphone, and I said, who the fuck uses a payphone?"
Nice.
Hey man, you gotta if you need a ride home, and you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Okay, predicts. I also have that Louis dies or is dead. Yeah.
Man, I guess I hope I hope if you guys are right, I hope Louis' estate sells the cab company.
I have that Tony is the main character. I think it's the focus is shifted. He kind of Urkeled the show, where now like people are more interested in Tony Danza or Tony Banta.
Also, he goes to space in this one.
Yeah, Tony drives a taxi in space, and then punches an alien.
Yeah, boxes them.
Yeah. And then I have that Alex's daughter is a driver.
Okay.
So she's a driver now at the company. And I had said earlier that I was kind of predicting that Tony and Elaine get married, but I didn't want to do the wedding prediction directly, so I said that Latka is officiating a wedding.
Okay.
So a little different twist
Pretty
on the
funny.
wedding prediction.
That's pretty funny.
Interesting take, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's time to watch this final episode that took place on June 15th, 1983, episode 114 of it's called Simka's Monthlies.
So I already know that I am not going to get that point.
Who's Simka?
I believe Simka is Princess Bride lady. What's her name? I already forgot.
Oh, okay.
I
Gotcha.
think she's Latka's wife or something.
Oh, that's who Carol Kane is?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right, well, let's watch Simka's Monthlies, and we will see after that. And we're back. We're done with the finale, sort of Taxi. It was called Smitka's Monthlies? Is that what it was called?
Simka.
Yeah, Simka.
Oh, why did I want to call her Smetka?
Racist.
Smirnoff's Monthlies. Yeah,
Simka.
that was the show we watched. Jimmy, do you have a write up for us?
Yeah. Simka fails to show up for another citizenship appointment, Latka explains back at the garage, that she is suffering from her Kremka push, which consists of craving for salt and erratic behavior. The gang finds out via Reverend, what was his name? Christopher Lloyd, Reverend Jim, that she is suffering from premenstrual syndrome, which apparently was an up-and-coming thing in the early 80s. The knowledge of premenstrual syndrome.
All right. Yeah, I feel like this episode had like essentially just like it had like three big scenes. Is like they went to Latka's apartment to celebrate like what's I want to keep calling her Smetka.
Simka's, she was supposed to be getting her green card.
They wanted to celebrate her Simka's green card party, but it was weird and it like didn't happen because she didn't go to the meeting. It was back in the garage where Christopher Lloyd like had his like talk about how he figured out like what the problem was, and then the meeting at the like actual office. Well, I guess 4 then, because Alex went to their apartment and like talked Simka into going to her meeting actually. And then she went, and then they passed because they just like bickered basically. And the guy doing it was like, okay, I can tell you're married. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the show, apparently.
And that's when I turned my video off of mute and said, Joe, this is what you're getting yourself into.
Oh, okay. Because
Bickering.
when you turned it off mute for me, it was when the guy said, "Welcome to America."
I was a little slow.
And I was like, Joe's from Illinois, right?
Wow. Okay, you did skip one part.
What's that?
Okay. Back up. They're gonna go and like help Simka. So then Louis does this whole speech about, who is gonna be the one to go and help her out? If only someone here was helpful in this place and just wanted to help people, because seemingly, to me at least, that like this is becomes Alex's character in this show, is that he's just kind of helping everyone with their whatever problems.
I mean, I feel like they set that up in a way in the first episode. I called him like the dad character, like,
Yeah.
A little bit ago. He's totally everybody's dad, our mentor figure in the show.
I really liked that Danny DeVito bit that he did.
I bet Danny
His little
DeVito
shtick.
in this show is a treasure. I bet he's at times, I guess, let's pull it back for a second, because I bet at times he's a hilarious treasure. And at the other times, he's horribly sexist and awful. I bet he plays like both of those things.
Yeah, he's kind of like, if Tom Hanks is America's dad, Danny DeVito is like the shitty like uncle-in-law of America.
Tom Hanks is America's dad, and Danny DeVito is America's uncle that when you go to Thanksgiving, you're excited to see what is he going to bring up this year.
He's going to get like a little belligerent and say something off color. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's always a
He's
good time.
Oh, yeah. I got that uncle. He's great. I mean, he's awful, but he's awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like,
You got your Danny DeVito uncle.
yeah. Yeah, he's a little taller than him, but besides that, it's pretty much spot on.
I read that during the switch of networks that NBC ran an ad. They put it on at the same exact time that it had been on ABC, and his ad commercial for it was "Same time, better station." Just Danny DeVito saying that.
I like the idea that they ran that on ABC for an NBC show.
Like they pay, yeah.
And that somehow got through like the admin or whatever. They're like, they paid a lot of money. We'll play it.
I also read that on some random article that so who knows if it's true, but that Danny DeVito guest starred on SNL, what was the host after the 4th season, which was canceled. And SNL's on NBC. And so like they did a whole spoof about how it was canceled, and it was basically just shitting on the network. And then after that, NBC picked up Taxi. I hope that's true.
Okay. I mean, yeah, so Taxi technically got canceled not once but twice then, right?
Yeah.
It got canceled from ABC and then NBC picked it up, and then I mean, very obviously this episode was not an end. This was just this felt like almost a very this wasn't even the end of a season. Like this was just
from the looks of it, by the end of the 4th season, when they got canceled on ABC, they were like just under 100 episodes. So it kind of feels like NBC picked them up to do one more season to get them enough episodes so that they can package it for syndication. So it's more of a business transaction rather than trying to revive the show.
It's interesting. I don't know how it works. It worked then, and I assume it probably is similar, but I've been listening to the Scrubs podcast that Zach Braff and Donald Faison have been doing.
Nice.
And I mean, number one, it's amazing. If you like Scrubs or either one of those two people, it's a good podcast. But they were talking about how Scrubs was owned by ABC, I guess, but ABC didn't want to do it, and they passed on it. And I think they waited and they offered it to somebody else, and like ABC was like, yeah, that's fine, because they like basically they assumed it wasn't gonna like be good, kind of thing. And so then it was whatever channel it was on. I don't remember what Scrubs was on, but
NBC.
It was on NBC. They're just interchangeable. Apparently, they just keep going back and forth. But so then, so it was an ABC show. It was an ABC owned show on NBC for however long. And then when they got canceled or stopped being on NBC, then that's when ABC picked it up for that tremendous 9th season that Scrubs had.
Yeah.
But so it's interesting how they do that. So they definitely, ABC canceled them, but I'm assuming then that means ABC still technically owned the show when it was on NBC even. It's weird. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know how that works, but apparently NBC and HBO were like both bid for the show, and NBC won, which seems like if ABC didn't still own some rights to it, it's pretty stupid to cancel it when they were just about to hit 100 seasons episodes to get like a good syndication.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's like how often like have Taxi reruns been aired since 83?
Especially
100 million times.
Like this was a big hit for a few years. So like what's like one more season of dwindling ratings for a huge hit?
It won so many Emmys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have ran, maybe they didn't do it as much back then, but you could have ran like a shorter final season, you know?
Yeah, promote it like
just
it's the final season.
Yeah, hey, final season. You guys might have fallen off like it last year or so, but it's also 1983, so what else are you watching? Why don't you watch
Welcome Back,
Taxi's
Kotter.
final season?
Interesting. Yeah, I read, I think on Wikipedia, that it won 18 Emmys in 5 seasons.
That
And
seems like a lot.
And best like comedy was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm disappointed that this did not get an ending. I feel like they could have ended it well. I feel like this show had the capability of having a great ending, you know, but it just maybe they were holding, like, you know, it's all politics. Maybe they're holding out. They thought they might get us another season. Maybe they thought if they like nailed this one, then they'd sign up. Maybe they
Taxi movie.
Maybe maybe the showrunner was like, screw you. If you're going to cancel me, we're not going to finish the show. You know, who knows?
Who's to say?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting that it was pretty like Latka centric. Like we got some Latka, we got a little bit of Louis and a little bit of Alex, and that was it.
Well, yeah, but it's crazy. It's like, obviously, like Andy Kaufman's kind of like a big character. Everyone knew him. He was very popular back then, but it's just like Tony Danza was in this episode still. Like Tony Danza was massive.
Yeah.
You know, when was Who's the Boss on? Like, was that right after this?
Must have been pretty close. Could have been late 80s. I read that Tony Danza, this was his like first big thing, and because he actually was a boxer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's how he was discovered.
84. Yeah, so literally this Taxi ended in June of 83, and Who's the Boss aired in September of 1984. So, I mean, basically right after this show was done, either Tony Danza like already knew he was going to be on Who's the Boss, you know, or like very quickly after that got casted. They filmed the pilot, it got picked up, and it happened, you know? So Tony Danza was on his way up for sure.
Yeah, if it aired in 84, he could have been he's probably already cast.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like all these people in the show were like, there was a handful of people in Taxi that were really big stars, and they weren't necessarily maybe massive in 1983, but a lot of them like were still, I think, at least like very obviously on their way up. Like they were like, this guy's great. This lady's great.
I wrote down during this episode like Latka-centric. That was like, was he so he was the Urkel that took over this show?
I mean, yeah. Which one? Didn't one of you say that? Like in the last part we just said that you thought like Latka was going to be the Urkel? Was that you, Joe?
The what?
I think Joe
I was reading about Tony Danza.
Else.
I thought you like kind of. I thought you said like you thought this was kind of going to become like like Latka was going to become the Urkel of this show.
Yeah, I said about Tony Danza.
Oh,
yeah, Tony Danza. Yeah.
Okay.
But speaking of Danza, I was trying to read into like that transition between Taxi and Who's the Boss, and it says that they filmed the pilot of Who's the Boss in like late 1983, so probably while whatchamacallit, shortly after Taxi wrapped up.
Yeah.
But then in between the pilot and the rest of when they started production of Who's the Boss, like Tony Danza had like gone to jail for like getting into a bar fight. And then yeah. And then just like over the course of like making Who's the Boss, like Tony Danza was just like a crazy person who would like fight with the directors and like fight with the writers over things that were changed.
Nice.
Yeah. He just like
what a guy.
Continually lost his mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that
Coke
80s cocaine
too.
will do that too.
We both went straight for it.
Yeah. I'm sure we are both very, very incorrect. Yeah.
In fun news, I read that Christopher Lloyd's wardrobe in this show was completely from his own closet. Which is great because during this whole episode, he's wearing a denim shirt, button-up shirt that was open with just a necktie on around his neck.
It looked like he was wearing like he had like a throw pillow in his shirt. Like when he at one point when he was like sitting down in the thing, he was talking, and I'm like, Christopher Lloyd's not like a pudgy dude, you know, kind of thing. And when you looked at it, when I was seeing him when he was talking and he was explaining to Latka in the garage what about Simka's like condition, I was like, is he wearing like a pillow in his shirt? Like that's what it looked like. It was funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I like Christopher Lloyd in this. He was just kind of a crazy person.
I'll be honest. I saw him talk. He was talking in this when he was like talking about what he had figured out or whatever. And I was like, that. I think right then tonight I was like, damn, Christopher Lloyd's a good actor. Like legitimately tonight was the first time I said it. And I don't think he's a bad actor. I've always thought he was a good one, but I think tonight I was like, oh. Was that an epiphany? It's like something you've realized that you've always known, but you finally like kind of realized it, you know? Mm-hmm. I had my Christopher Lloyd epiphany tonight.
Mark it. Mark your calendars, folks. You heard it here.
Quarantine, year 45. Josh realizes Christopher Lloyd is a good actor.
My only other note was that Simka, which over and over. I did not write her name down. Princess Bride lady.
Carol Kane.
That's Carol Kane? Oh,
That's Carol Kane.
She won an Emmy. She won a couple of Emmys for this. That's pretty interesting. Anyway, that her voice is just the same voice that she does in Princess Bride and in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah.
And as Penguin's mom. Like, is that her voice? I'm
That must
confused.
just be how she talks.
Is that just how she talks? Because it's hilarious.
She seems like she's won enough awards where you could probably watch an award speech of hers and find out what she actually sounds like.
I feel like
Unless she does that Gilbert Godfrey thing where she only talks in her like stage voice the whole time.
and,
know,
and
Gilbert
That's not his
Godfrey.
voice.
No.
off camera, he's just a normal dude.
Just constantly yelling, squinting.
You can, if you search, you can figure it out. But yeah, know that. Look, I can't. I'm not gonna
man.
do it. I can't do it.
I'm about to go down a YouTube rabbit hole.
No,
of
Gilbert Godfrey's actual voice is not the voice of Gilbert Godfrey. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's like super far off, but like it's not that like nails on a
Sure,
chalkboard.
that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense because that would be annoying even to yourself.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
So
I was curious.
assuming she just got pigeonholed into that voice for her whole career after this.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that high. Was she on Friends? I feel like she was on Friends at some point.
I don't know.
I'll look it up.
Probably. According to Wikipedia, despite it says despite the humor of the show, I don't know really what that means, but Taxi, apparently the show was one of those shows in the late 70s, early 80s that tackled issues such as drug addiction, single parenthood, blindness, obesity, animal abuse, homosexuality, racism, teenage runaways, divorce, nuclear war, sexual harassment, premenstrual mood disorders, gambling addiction, and grief. So
That is a wide spectrum.
yeah,
Some
it's one of those things.
should
I'm
not be
curious.
in that.
I'm curious about. It says like, you know, despite it being trying to be a funny show, it tackled hard hitting issues, and I'm like, I would really like to see like I bet for the most part it probably did some of those pretty good. You know, like it maybe for the time and looking back now, I bet some of those things was like. Whew, I mean, you try to tackle that the best you could, I guess, in 1979, but maybe not. So, be very curious on seeing some of those like hard-hitting episodes, you know?
A very special episode of Taxi.
That's right. The grief episode.
Ooh.
I want to see I do want to see the nuclear war episode of
Yeah.
Taxi.
What could that possibly be about?
Yeah, I mean,
Carol-
I don't know. Yeah, in the 80s, like Cold War's over. I don't know.
Carol Kane was not in Friends, but
All right.
she was in Seinfeld.
Oh, okay. One of Jerry's girlfriends? Just kidding.
Probs.
No, she wasn't.
She also
Oh,
was a
man.
voice on Hey Arnold.
Yeah, good for her.
Probably the
fun
same
one.
exact voice.
That's a fun one. Do we got any closing statements on Taxi? Because you probably get in these predictions because we're running long.
You gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here.
I got places
Producers
to be,
telling
guys.
us to wrap up.
I gotta go outside.
Our producer intern is like, "You guys gotta wrap it up. It's getting too long."
Swirling the finger in the air.
I'm just like, it was fine. I mean, obviously I was like, this episode was just okay in my opinion. I thought the pilot was good. You know, it was the this is a sitcom, business as usual, good pilot. It's a bummer they got canceled twice, I guess, and it's a bummer that they didn't take that to heart and actually try to really finish off the show. I mean, I guess if you get canceled once and you get picked up by another network, there's a potential that you go, well, maybe we'll get picked up again or something like that. So you just don't finish it. But I think there's a way to give closure to a show with still hopes of it coming back. And I think they missed that opportunity here. So good pilot, bad.
I would
bad
speculate
finale.
that the in-between little like middle section here is probably pretty funny. Like a lot of funny people on this. If you just give like Andy Kaufman and Christopher Lloyd and Carol Kane like room to cook, like you got a funny show.
Yeah, I agree.
You got a stew
Yeah.
going.
Got yourself a stew. Got some potatoes.
I'm gonna need my $1,200 back.
Yeah, I read that Danny DeVito like 10 years ago wanted to do a reunion movie, which I thought would be funny. I guess a lot of them did the Man in the Moon movie to reprise their roles as their younger selves, like during so Jim Carrey could be crazy on set of Taxi.
That's fun.
I don't remember that, but let's look up that movie after this.
I mean, if this show does anything, it makes me want to rewatch Man on the Moon. I mean, that movie came out 21 years ago, and I probably saw it within a year of it coming out, and had probably no, like, I didn't respect it as much as I probably would now, having at least seen a little bit more of, being older and seeing a little bit more of Taxi. So,
Yeah, I'd watch that.
yeah. All right. Predictions. Jimmy, you up first.
Yeah, I got 0 points. No taxi crash. Latka's very much there. Louis is very much alive. Judd, I don't believe married Elaine. But I had a good time, so, you know.
Inconclusive.
I feel like I still am a winner.
Okay. Well, way to go. You going with that if you had fun, then you won scenario. I see.
A little participation trophy for Jimmy.
Oh, way to
Whoa,
go.
whoa,
Oh, yeah.
you
participation.
son of a bitch.
You raising wheat. We're raising wheat
millennial.
kids.
Hey, you gave it to me. I never understand how that's no one like boomers never realized that like the kids didn't give themselves the trophies. Who are you blaming in this scenario?
Well, they're not going to blame themselves. What the fuck? Come on, Jimmy. They're not the problem. They're the greatest generation or some bullshit.
Consistently complain about participation trophies that they
Right.
gave children.
Yeah, it's the children's fault because they accepted them when
It's
they
the
were
children
4.
who are wrong.
It's not the children are not our future. They're very wrong.
I got no points also. Because
But did you have fun?
no. I had that Louis dies. I had Latka officiating a wedding. I had that Tony was the main character, and that Alex's daughter is a driver. Which a lot of those things are really like more of like real finale type things. So, yeah.
Right. Mine were as well. I had Bobby has opening night in production, and was Bobby in this
I
episode
didn't
even?
see him.
Bobby
Yeah.
quit, I think, before or during season 4, and then made a whole big stink that like, oh, I quit, and then they canceled the show. Because like,
Oh, so he was
I would have
cool
been
dude.
I would have been a big star if I didn't do this show, and they treated me like a bunch of jerks.
Oh yeah. Sorry you were employed as an actor living your dream for 4 years.
Yeah.
So by the way, I got 0 points. Just so before we go. The other one was so Bobby had opening night in a production. He was not in a play, nor I think in this episode. Alex's daughter lives in New York City. Maybe inconclusive, but no way to tell. I think the cab company got sold. Nope, definitely not. DeVito's still there for sure, at least. And then I think there was a payphone joke. I think maybe the payphone rang, but that's not a joke. That's just a phone ringing. Christopher Lloyd used the phone, but that's not funny. That was just that's the thing that happened. So 0.
Phones just ring.
So good job, boys. Good job, boys.
Nailed it.
Everyone gets a donut for their award.
Oh, I love donuts.
I haven't had a donut in a long time.
Me neither. Donuts sound great.
It's not really something you get in like quarantine because like you don't really buy one donut at a time. You usually get like a dozen.
Well, now you're making me think of like is that Bogart's donut shop? They essential? Will they open?
I assume they do a pickup.
I'll put a mask on and go pick up some donuts this weekend. That sounds great.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I bought a donut like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "This is definitely a day old, at least." Like no one's been buying these donuts at Kowalski's.
Ain't nothing wrong with a day old donut.
I mean, I still had a good time, but it wasn't.
It wasn't
as fresh. Wasn't as fresh. It was like it was one of those like salted caramel jobs.
You guys like cake donuts or like raised donuts?
What? What's a raised
I guess I
donut?
don't know the name of a non-cake donut, but like it's like the dough like rises up. Or a cake donut. There's two kinds of donuts.
Cake donuts are a little more dense.
Yeah, like you know what a cake donut is, right?
I mean, that's basically like a normal donut,
It's
right?
like old-fashioned. It's like it's got a texture of cake, crumbly.
Yeah. It's usually more like glazed and not like doesn't normally have like
glaze, sometimes not.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think I prefer a donut that has like a good topping of like chocolate and sprinkles on it. You give me that donut, I'm good.
That could be either one.
I know, and I'm usually fine with it as long as it's got that part on it. That's what I'm saying.
I think
Joe, what are your thoughts?
heavy preference for the non-cake donut, whatever we're calling that.
Okay.
I remember
I think
going to a donut shop with a friend. Like we were gonna go, like a bunch of us were like staying over at a friend's place, and like the two of us just went out to go get donuts for the rest of the crew, and like I'm thinking this is gonna be like an easy, like we're just gonna go pick up some donuts and like not a big deal. But then we get to the donut shop and he's like, all right, what do you think we should get? And I was like, I don't know, what do you like? Like, I'm good with whatever. And he's like, all right, so we're obviously getting cake, right? And I'm just like, wait, you like cake style donuts? Like, no.
Okay, I will say Bogart's has some bomb cake style donuts.
Yeah,
though.
that's pretty much what that place I was just talking about, Bogart's, is a lot of cake, and I've been like, I'm really into their donuts.
I did some Googling, and it seems like the
though.
common nomenclature is a cake donut or a yeast donut, and I think I prefer the yeast donut.
Big yeast
I think after that, after what we've all just said, I'm going cake donut.
You guys will both start separate donut shops across the street.
Even like a Krispy Kreme.
And Joe's will be called
You know, like a Krispy Kreme.
Joe's yeast infection.
I'm not saying I don't like those donuts, Joe. I'm just saying I think I prefer the other donut.
I don't discriminate.
You give me a donut,
Am I
I'm
right?
gonna eat the donut.
Did you guys hear my joke?
Nope,
No, I
gotta
talked
go.
over
Bye.
it.
I said I don't discriminate.
Oh, like the internet just cut out for a second there. I didn't catch it.
Oh yeah.
God damn it.
No, I heard it. I just didn't laugh.
I don't discriminate the donuts.
No, Jimmy, we heard it. We get it.
I'm going to keep saying it.
Cards on the table. I've heard it like 5 times now. I still don't get it. You don't discriminate?
I don't. Yeah. I don't discriminate different kinds of dough nuts.
Yo, Jimmy, I don't cake
I like
what
them
you're
all.
talking about.
I like
but
them all.
I don't agree with you.
God damn it.
This reminds me of in the movie Hot Rod when guy keeps saying, "You're a terrible stuntman," and Hot Rod keeps going, "What?" And he goes, "You're a terrible stuntman." "What? You're a terrible stuntman." And he goes, "No, I heard you the first time. It's just really mean."
Yeah, that's a good
He
bit.
keeps like trying to say what so the guy will stop being mean, but he doesn't. Oh boy. Well, hey everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of First and Last. We appreciate your patronage. And hopefully we've made about an hour of your quarantine a little bit better. And if we've made it worse, blame that on the not finale of Taxi.
Yeah.
And Jimmy's donut jokes.
Come on.
If you would like to do show suggestions or get a hold of us for any reason whatsoever, you can hit us up at FNL Podcast on the Gmail, on the Twitter. You can rate us multiple stars on your podcast app of choice. It helps us out. And, stay safe out there, or in there, or wherever you are staying. And we will see you next week on another First and Last. Goodbye.
Peace. I just realized I said bye. I didn't mean to.